Well, the major cons of bankruptcy, of course, it's first your credit takes a pretty good hit. Although that's kind of a relative term. A lot of folks, by the time they get around to talking to me, their credit scores have already been decimated. They may have a foreclosure or more than one. Um, the leveraging of real estate was so popular over the last several years that it's not uncommon for me to see people with several foreclosures or short sales on their credit report. Um, but at least for especially for people who they've stayed current on everything, and they're just overwhelmed and they come in. Yeah, for those people, they could come into my office a credit score of 800, and the day we filed, it's going to be in the fours. So that's a really big deal for some people, and it's very painful to them. There's an emotional component of, they see that statistic, and to them, that's how they've kind of measured themselves, and it's a big adjustment for a lot of people to just find a different way to measure themselves, and it's not necessarily by their credit score. So that's a major con. It's the impact on the credit score. Um, what other major cons? Well, there are limitations, in the bankruptcy process itself, and if you've got a lot of valuable property, but you've got an astronomical amount of debt, you actually could be faced with losing some of what you have, some of the property that you have. Most people don't run into that, though. I'd say that fewer than maybe 1 in 200 cases that I've handled, we've actually had to plan around what assets a client has. And by that I don't mean moving them or giving them to the in-laws. Those are things that can get you in a lot of trouble. But there are ways to plan around that, and you need expert help to do that. But that's another one of the cons. I think probably the biggest con to filing bankruptcy is, for most people, the perception is the scarlet bee. It's the admission of failure. It's coming to grips with the fact that you might be in a situation where you're just not going to be able to dig out. And I think a lot of people see that as a con. I see it as sort of a cathartic experience for the client, because they've reached a point where they finally have realized that this isn't going to get any better. And so bankruptcy can be a fairly radical treatment, but usually the condition that it treats is pretty bad.
For your free bankruptcy consultation in San Diego, please call 619 235 9645.